Thanks so much for joining us here on the Daily Racing Form YouTube. I'm Gino Buccola alongside Mike Beer. Make sure to head on down below and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Drop a comment in. Let us know who you like in this race preview. We're going to talk about the Muniz Memorial Classic over at Fairgrounds this weekend. It's going to go as race number 10. And Mike, as we head on out and take a look, remember it's part of the road to the Derby right now. You can get these past performances as part of this big package for all of the big days starting this weekend with Louisiana Derby Day, Jeff Ruby Stakes Day, the next weekend. I think it's Aqueduct and Oaklawn. They have their big week, or at Gulfstream Park in Oaklawn. They have their big weekends. Following weekend, I think it's Aqueduct, Santa Anita, and then Keeneland joins the party. So we will be very, very busy. But as we head out to Fairgrounds to take a look at this field for the 10th, Mike, you and I were talking before, this is one of the better betting races. I think you can make a case for a lot of different horses in here. And while we start with redistricting in Spirit of St. Louis, they're the most proven and probably the most likely winners. We can poke holes in those horses and look for a few others that might offer us some value.
Yeah, there's some talent in this field, to be sure. Listen, you have a turf race, graded stakes on the grass. Chad Brown's going to be involved. He's got two horses in here. They're both really good, and they're not going to be easy to beat in here. But there are some other horses in here that can really, really run. This is a very interesting race.
A big field going 1.1 miles on the turf course. Grade 2 event, $300,000 up for grabs. Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector in a big field like this. Can we take anything from the projector? I mean, I think with Higgins' boat drawn to the outside, that will probably force the hand a little bit there, Mike. They have to probably use a little bit of their outside position, try to use some of that speed so they don't get hooked wide. Johnny's Fireball usually wants to kind of sit close, push the pace. I don't know if they'll be flying, but a couple in here who want to be close up and pushing it.
Yeah, my only comment on the pace was that, listen, Higgins' boat, I guess, maybe they'll be forced out of there from post 12. To me, he's more of a handy kind of a horse, and he's not a kind of speedball, but he could certainly make the lead, I suppose. To me, maybe the key to the pace this time, anyway, is the horse that's drawn down on the rail, Gigante. I mean, I'm not sure what what Jose Ortiz was thinking last time, but he gave this horse no chance to win in a race that was running at a really slow pace, and he's got more speed than that.
So let's meet the field, and we can start with Gigante from the inside. You were pointing out he just didn't really get the kind of trip that was needed to make a dent in that race. I mean, he was just behind the field that was going really slow. He tried to come closing. He was just too far back. He had really no chance in there. Prior to that, though, he does have some good races, in particular here at Fairgrounds. He is a grade 2 winner. He was second in this race last year. He did have a little bit of late traffic after he kind of started his rally last time out. What do you think about him in this spot this year?
He's just a good horse. And listen, he's not a speedball. I'm not, when we're talking about the pace, I'm not suggesting that he's going to be on ascend here, and come out running to the lead, but he can be forward and just fall into a trip. To me, I think the biggest concern with him, he just had no chance last time. The way that they rode him, behind a really slow pace, then he had to steady at the quarter pole, and he was just never going to win. To me, the main concern I have with him is I don't really think he wants to go this far. I just think he's more of a miler type horse. I think 9 furlongs is really pushing it for him, especially against the top horses, and there are good horses in here. I mean, but he's really good, and he's supposed to get a different trip this time, and it can make a difference.
Yeah, and because he got such a poor trip last time out, he's going to give you better value in here, right? Like he's going to offer you more value. Look at his last three races. He's been 5-2 or under. He's just going to be a much better price and playable this time around. What about Johnny's Fireball? Another one who should be forwardly placed. I just don't know if he's quite at this quality level. Did have a win 2 starts back against Softer at Churchill.
Yeah, he just looks like he's in really, really tough here. Listen, if you found something to like about him, and obviously Norm Cassie's done a really good job with this horse since they claimed him for $50,000 a couple of summers ago. They've done great with this horse, but races like this, they're really tough for him.
The next one up, What Say Thee? I thought he was one of the horses in here that if you wanted to make a case for, you might be able to get rewarded because he has form in a pretty good string of races last year. I think you can kind of look at some of the races that he didn't really fire and make sense. He had legitimate trouble in one of the races last year at Gulfstream Park. He came back and at Ellison at Kentucky. It's kind of the end of his season. One of those races was behind Goliad, who you're not going to be passing at Kentucky Downs either. He loves that turf course. And then his most recent form kind of makes sense to me, Mike. I think he was third last time out in that race against Taking Candy. If you toss the race at Kentucky, the form looks a little bit better. He can get a mile and an eighth. He can come closing. I don't know how good he is overall, right? This will be one of his tougher tests, but I think he will be a playable price in here, and I could see him second off the bench come running late. What do you think about What Say Thee?
Won't argue with any of that stuff. Another horse, they've just done great work off the claim with this horse. Maker's gotten the absolute best out of this horse. And as opposed to the horse on the rail, 9 furlongs is no issue for What Say Thee. He's going to get this distance. Gino, I'm not going back to him. I really liked him last time in the fairgrounds. I thought that was a great spot for him. And he's another horse who was sort of off the pace, and he was always behind the winner, Taking Candy. So maybe that's an excuse for him. I still thought he had a shot at it in the stretch. He just wasn't quite good enough. I'm probably not going back to him in here, but he's a dangerous horse.
Yeah, this is like a total Maker special, right? Claim the horse, step them up, going longer on the turf, and just get everything out of them, as you were pointing out. Cameo Performance is the next one. Grade 3 placed. He's going to be making his first start as a 4-year-old, Mike, out off a 6.5-month break. Irad jumps on, which you have to always see as a positive, but he does have the lowest buyer top in the field. And he just didn't really fire in his last start. I mean, he had some trouble in that race at Kentucky, so it's probably unfair to say he didn't really fire. Like, he had a legitimate excuse. Yeah. We just haven't seen him since that race, and now this is a big step up.
Yeah, I don't care about the last race just because he didn't get a good trip, and it's at Kentucky Downs. And so I just don't care what happens at that track. Prior to that, I just thought he was really progressive, a very lightly raced 4-year-old. Now, the layoff, coming back from a layoff like this against a field like this, obviously it could just conspire to be way too much for this horse, but I think he's good. All of his races prior to the Kentucky Downs race last year, they were all good, and they were pointing this horse out as a lightly raced horse who had some real potential. I was taking his chances pretty seriously in here, especially if he's a big price, but this is a tough spot.
Redistricting comes off of a really nice performance in the Seabiscuit on November 30th. That was the last time we saw him, and I believe we have a replay of the stretch run there. You're going to see the number 7 in this replay, Redistricting, angle all the way to the outside. He's still dead last at the top of the lane, Mike, with a ton of work to do. He almost wins this race. I mean, this is a very, very talented horse who's now going to be making his first start at 5, and he's lightly raced with some upside.
Yeah, the odd thing about this race, too, is that this horse hadn't been a horse who lacked early, he had no early speed prior to this. Yeah. For some reason, Pratt just sort of, I'm not blaming Pratt, but the pace was pretty solid, but this horse got lost early in this race. He was way back, and he was flying late in that race. I would understand anybody taking the position with this horse, Gino, that he's 5 years old now. He hasn't really accomplished all that much for as much talent as he had, and you get tired of making excuses for these horses. But I would just say, in my opinion, he was best last time in that race that we just watched. He was clearly best in the Knickerbocker 2 starts back when Franco got him blocked in the stretch in there. Really, he's just had the one race there where he was pulled up and something went wrong in the grade 1. But this horse, you could see it right from his career debut. This horse can run. He has tons of ability.
Top tier player in here, no doubt about it. And right next door to the other Chad Brown, who is another top tier player. Spirit of St. Louis had done really great work against New York breds. Never really had that big open company win, though, that's kind of stamped him as a major player. He was 7-1 in the Pegasus World Cup Turf, though, so he was live in that group, and he ran down Integration, who got the jump on him there. So Spirit of St. Louis was good, and I don't really have any knocks on him overall as a horse, Mike. My one piece of advice would be, you may have bet him last time and gotten the good price, and now you're just going to have to get much, much shorter coming off of a career best. Is he going to be able to put that type of effort back to back and now at a much shorter price?
Exactly. Yeah, you're going to have to take a shorter price, and that's a big issue. This is the Pegasus World Cup Turf right here. He got a great trip and ride in here from Tyler Gaffalione, but look at this horse come and get Integration late in this race. Integration's a really nice horse.
Yep.
And Spirit of St. Louis just comes and closes him down in here. This is a really good performance from this horse. To me, one of the most surprising things about him, Gino, was he was so good for so long for Chad. I was surprised that Chad didn't take a shot at a more major race with him earlier than he actually did. And when he finally did at Keeneland last year in the mile, this horse did not get a great trip in that race. So listen, he's really good. He's probably now the horse to beat off the last one, but your point's well taken. You're going to have to take a shorter price here, and there are some other good horses in this field.
Rebel Red is next up. I like mentioning this story. It was in the DRF in an article last year. He lost his left eye in a stall accident before the Bernard Baruch, which is just crazy to think about. So in that race, he didn't really run all that well. I'm sure that was just a brand new thing for him, right? He doesn't have an eye, and now he's in a race. Everything's different. His perception. Following that, he comes back and he wins his next race, probably just getting a little more used to and more comfortable with everything new for him. Then he showed up in the Red Smith. He set the pace that day before fading behind integration. And this is an honest horse, and Cherie DeVoe's done a fantastic job with some of the circumstances they've had to deal with him. Can he step up and be competitive in a group like this, Mike?
Yeah, I think it can. I mean, you mentioned the trouble that you had there before the Baruch. I mean, this horse was really impressive, winning the 2 races leading up to the Baruch. And then he didn't run that well that day for all the reasons that you mentioned. He came right out of that race, and I thought was super impressive again when he won the allowance race at Keeneland. This horse ran fine last time, and Milan 3/8 might be pushing it for this horse a little bit. And integration, limited liability, those are 2 good horses who want distance. I mean, he's another horse you got a layoff to deal with here. It's Cherie DeVoe and Jose Ortiz who just team up to win everything at this track all winter down here. And this horse, he can run a little bit. He's a dangerous horse, I thought.
Speaking of Cherie DeVoe, she has another really talented runner right next door in Brilliant Birdie, who's a grade 3 winner who has not done a whole lot wrong throughout his career, Mike. I mean, you only have 1 or 2 races where you kind of can poke a hole in what they've done. And so now it's like the starting point for him. He's going to be making his first start at 4. Is he ready to fire his best in this race? I mean, he's certainly talented, but it's going to be a really fun horse to watch in races like this throughout the year.
Yeah, he's one of the horses who I thought, even though he's got, of the 2 Cherie DeVoe horses, he's got the stakes credentials that his stablemate Rebel Red really doesn't. He doesn't have them. I still think the other one, Rebel Red, might be the better horse. We'll see how it all plays out. This horse, he's good. I'm not knocking him. He's going to be a price in here as well. The last time we saw him in that Bryan Station, he got the job done there, but boy, did he take advantage. There was a big, fast pace in that race, and the closers just came and dominated.
I think why this race is interesting is, you have horses like Smoky Mandate who come up, who I think you can make a little bit of a case for a 20-1 shot to hit the board in here. At least he could sit a very nice trip. He had some fast races back in 2023, and then he was off, Mike, from the end of 2023 to October of 2024. So he has a 10-month layoff there. Coming back off the layoff, they get him started in softer spots, first at Indy, then at Fairgrounds. He finishes second behind Higgins' Boat. Then there's a race that's taken off the turf. Felt like it kind of all came together for him in the most recent start, and he's really kind of trending back to where his ceiling was. This is going to be way tougher than he's faced throughout a lot of his career, but we know he has a ceiling that he can kind of get back to in that middle of the 90 buyer speed figures. So if he can take one more step up there, I'd be okay with using this horse in the bottom of exotics at a big price. You at least sort of have some versatility with running style. He shouldn't be too far out of it. He can kind of put himself in the race and give you a good run for your money.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, certainly that was a real step in the right direction last time. It was a good performance, and I'm not surprised that Maker started looking for another stakes race for this horse out of it. He has run some faster races in the past, so it's not like the 88 is a ceiling for him. We'll just see. He's obviously another horse he's okay, but he's happened to have found himself in a really, really tough spot here.
Yeah, it is. That's why Dancing in Daniil looks a little bit overmatched in here, because every time we've seen him in the graded stakes races a couple of times, and even in stakes company, he's just been a little bit overmatched. Can he improve at all against this group?
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like he's a horse who we've seen enough of him, and he's just probably not going to be good enough. It seems like his connections sort of settled on the idea last year that he was just going to be better at going longer distances. And so maybe this is just a place to get started.
Maybe a couple pace players to the outside with I'd Rather Be Blessed, who is multiple stakes placed. I just don't know about a mile and an eighth, and he would need a career best based on speed figures here to get the better of this group. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's impossible. I'll say that. And I do think he can get the right trip in this race, Gino. I'm not, totally convinced that if he shows up with his best race and then, 2 or 3 of the other ones also show up with their best race, I'm not convinced that I'd Rather Be Blessed could beat them. But we'll see what happens.
Out maybe, right?
Yeah, but he's just the horse and he's another horse out of that fair. I didn't love the ride that he got in that Fairgrounds last time, because he easily could have made the lead in there and they conceded it. And so maybe that wound up costing him. I still didn't think he had some kind of huge excuse.
Higgins' boat set the pace in the fairgrounds last time out, faded, finished second behind Taking Candy. Now he's drawn to the outside. As you were kind of pointing out, I don't know how fast he is, if he's like a need the lead type horse. I think he kind of got the lead by default because there weren't very many other speed horses. I'm just worried about the wide post, the wide trip. Can he overcome that and go a mile and an eighth, which we have not seen him do successfully yet?
Yeah, well, correct. And can he improve again? Because he's going to have to, especially based on the race last time, where they just conceded the lead to this horse, and he didn't have to go fast. And listen, it wasn't a poor performance at all, but he was only second best in that spot. But he is a very handy horse. So I don't think you should handicap this race and think, oh, he's compromised by post 12s. They're going to have to go to try to make the lead. He does not need the lead. He's a very, very handy horse. We'll see if he can improve again.
And as we round out the field and take a look at selections, I liked handicapping this race, and I think I'm excited to gamble on this race, Mike, because I honestly feel like other than like Spirit of St. Louis, in my opinion, might be like the only horse in this race that I don't know if is playable at the price. There might be 4 or 5 other horses to me that I would be okay with playing. Like Redistricting might be a playable price in here, making the first start of the year if a lot of money goes to Spirit of St. Louis. The horse who you have underneath, I think is a playable price. I've got a couple in the 3 and the 9 who I think are playable. So that's what is fun, is when you can find and make cases for these horses who are going to be 6, 8, 10 to 1 and above.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be very interesting to see how in my opinion too, how they separate the 2 Chad horses.
Agreed.
Here. Redistricting, I wouldn't want a short price on him, but at around the morning line, I could bet this horse. I think he's really talented. I just sort of been waiting for this horse to break through. Maybe it'll happen here. The other horse that I just wanted to get in there somewhere was the 4 Cameo Performance. The layoff isn't ideal, especially against the field like this, but I think that horse has a lot of upside.
As you can see, it's a challenging race, lots of different opportunities for prices. We wish you all the best of luck, and a big shout out to producer Bobby for helping us out with these videos this week.